All right, everyone, we'll open it up with questions for Coach.
James, say hello, KC Sports Radio.
James wins.
Jennie, let's talk about the defensive assignment for your team, because you get great inside players. You're going to be chasing all these shooters, and they go 5 out. You said the other day, so that was what they did last year too. So talk about the defensive assignment and how critical that's going to be.
Well, I think defense is obviously critical in every single game that you play, but it's weird that you play the same team back-to-back years in the NCAA tournament, and you have so much respect because they have such a great tradition. And I said this last year, and I've said it already about 15 times this year. They're the team you don't really want to play in the NCAA tournament. That's the team that you circle that you don't want to play. But at the same time, I'm excited to be able to see us step on the floor and play somebody else. We've had a couple weeks off. But also we've played in a different conference to prepare you in a little different way too. So I don't know what the advantages will be in that or the disadvantages, but I do know that we're going to give the best shot that we have and we'll be ready.
Eric Bailey with the Tulsa World. Jennie, we've talked about Raegan developed chemistry with this basketball team, but what about her attachment to the senior class? So we heard stories about her making mugs for this team. Can you just talk about how she's really developed that rapport with the senior class and what she's meant to them and what they meant to her?
Yeah. Well, I think we knew that we were returning so much, right, in terms of minutes and production, and we also knew that we wanted to continue to get better. And I tell this story a lot, too, that, we knew that we were going to get Raegan when she came on her visit, and Payton and Skylar had picked out an apartment already for her, and she hadn't even said yes yet. But Raegan she's a really great person. And I think it's taken her actually a while because she wants to make sure that senior class is proud of what she's doing and she's giving, too. And that's taken us a little bit to be able to really find our groove. But make no mistake, it's mutual. And this senior class, it was about January, because we had a hard January. You know that. We were, coming off of some tough games, some tough road trips. I mean, every night this year has been an NCAA tournament game because we didn't really know our opponent and we didn't know the environment that we were going into, and we had to learn that. But I think this senior class has really taken a lot of pride in making sure that they're pouring in and leaving a legacy that goes beyond wins and losses. They've already cut down nets. They've played in NCAA tournaments. Of course, they want to go farther than they've ever gone. But that class is one that has really embraced Raegan, and I think that's been able it's really enabled Raegan to really be who she is. And you can really start to see that right now. She can be a great person off the floor, and she can be really assertive on. And when she is, and we're balanced like that, we're a really good team.
Cliff Brunt, Associated Press. You're obviously very, very familiar with Iowa's fan base, and I know you're not playing Iowa yet, but they could have an impact on your game because they play in the early game. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have all their people there, So
I'm sure they'll cheer for us.
Right. Yeah. But I would ask you, what do you think having them here will do for the environment, their fan base in particular?
Sure. Well, I think I'm excited to see the fan base period here. I know Murray State will travel some, Florida Gulf Coast will travel some. This is a big deal. This is a big regional, and it's one that people can travel to. And we have been talking so much from a national perspective on the sport of women's basketball and how much attention has been there. And honestly, we've really tried to focus on that because we need to have more of a regional focus in terms of what the people in Oklahoma, if we're going to come out and we're going to show out. Iowa has done a great job. Even after graduating a superstar in Caitlin Clark, they're still selling out. And so I'm proud of that, being from there. And at the same time, know that that's also going to challenge our fans to be able to show up as well. So I'm excited to be able to see just our sport on a national level and be highlighted here in the Lloyd Noble Center tomorrow, whether it's the 11 o'clock game or the 1:30 game.
Thank you.
Frank Chapman, you talked a lot about last year being kind of rolling into this year. How much do you feel like this is almost the culmination of a 2-year cycle in a way? And is this team ready for the moment and to kind of embrace that here this weekend?
You know, normally every year it's like the end of the season, you start the next season and there's, nothing left. But we knew at the end of the season last year, and a lot of you were there with us a lot through that last season journey, and you could tell that the story wasn't over and that there was more to it. You can see us continuing to grow this year just at a different level. And I think what's really going to come to fruition here is to see the lessons that we actually did learn in a lot of the firsts this year, right? You're in the SEC. We fell on our face a lot, had to get up, had to keep going. So we're not afraid of it. We're not afraid to continue to grow resiliency skills. We're not afraid to, lose a close game like we did last year in the NCAA tournament, and by the way, the year before that too. So we have no fear. We're playing with a different kind of joy. I think that goes back to our senior class, which has to go back to the year before. So the way that group has continued to lead, there's a different type of depth to this team. So you can talk about teams being close. You can talk about having a great culture, and you can put a smile on your face, and you can like everybody. But there's a different kind of depth to this team when you start to challenge each other, you tell each other the truth, and oh, by the way, you kind of like each other. And I think that's what's been really special to watch this team really grow. You can see it in minutes played, you can see it in production, you can see it from November to right now. But also, of course, it goes back a year.
Stay up front.
Jesse Critton, an OU insider. Jennie, you talked about Raegan's connection with the senior class. On the floor, how have you maybe seen that really over the last couple of weeks, just in terms of that chemistry building, and just how much of a different factor is that for you guys heading into this year's tournament run?
Well, I think the senior class has such strength and humility all at the same time, because you look at what Raegan's been able to do, but also what about Payton Verhulst and the way that she's been able to lead this team, and Sahara Williams from a competitive standpoint, how much she's grown as this season has gone on. So I think the best part about this team is we're not a one-hit wonder. It's not if somebody doesn't do well, then we don't win a game. We need balance from everybody. Everybody has to show up. Everybody gets to show up. There's a difference. But I would say that obviously the senior class has led that. I know Raegan coming in was a huge need for us, but now she's a player on the team. It's not a transactional, hey, we just needed a post, we plugged one in, and now we're good. There's a lot more that goes into that, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk extensively about what Sahara Williams and Payton Verhulst have done as well.
Tarek Moss here, the Norman Transcript. You've talked a lot about how important that week off after the first South Carolina game was for you guys to reset and all of the success that you've kind of had later in the year. How does this week, I know it's a longer week, but how does this compare in terms of how you've approached it and how they've kind of responded so far?
Yeah. Well, when you guys asked a similar question to our players before, I thought they answered it really nice, but it was hard. It was a hard week to focus on ourselves. And, a lot of times you think, because we haven't had that off week, so it's been about 2 weeks, right? And we haven't had that. We didn't have that in the Big 12 when we were in it. And then, so the SEC teams are used to that extra week. But I feel like we've been really awesome. Like coming to practice, I feel like they've played really hard. They've competed really hard. They're ready to play somebody else because we compete against each other a lot more than we compete against even a practice squad. And you can see that. You can see the players getting better as time has gone on, because that's a huge part of what we want to be able to do as well here. And at the same time, I feel like they're proud of themselves. They hit the weight room hard. They've drilled hard. They've worked on their games hard, and yet they've spent a lot of time working on their recovery. So a lot of times we think recovery is just rest, and although yes, that's a huge part of it, you have to work at it. But they're going to be ready to play in a game. So I've not had to talk about their effort. I haven't had to talk about their focus. There's times I have to remind them how much fun they're having when they're running. But, that's every coach and every team. But I've been actually really impressed with the way that we've attacked practice these 2 weeks. Don't tell them I said that, so just don't repeat that. I don't give compliments all that well.
Right here.
Holden Cruzmark, KFOR TV. Jennie, with the matchup that you guys have against FGCU, they don't have a lot of height I think obviously people look at that and say, well, you just feed Raegan down in the post. But with talking to Raegan, she said that, kind of expect them to crash hard. How important will it be for players like Lexi and Sahara, Skylar to knock down threes for you guys in this game?
Well, I think it's important for us just to have balance, period. And we got to guard first, and we know that. And when you're guarding, when you're playing such contrasting styles, right, and personnel, you have to focus on very few things. It can't be, oh, we're just going to throw it to Raegan and she's going to save the day. That's never been our approach, no matter what kind of advantage we feel like we have or don't have. But we know we all have to guard, and we know we have to play team basketball. That's why our assists are high. That's why our ball movement's pretty good. That's why we've continued to get better. I mean, you've seen some games where we've had 5, 6 players in double figures. That's what you need to be able to do at tournament time. So, yes, it's important that we, quote unquote, knock down shots, but it's more important that we set each other up and we play the way that we want to be able to play and have fun. That's March. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's more of our focus, is to play the style that we want to be able to play, and also to be able to continue to read the game live.
We'll do a last question right up here.
Right, I was just going to say, you've talked about this a ton this year, the SEC having to be switched on every single night. But now that you're here in March, what does that do for the mindset of the team, knowing they have to have that edge or whatever it is every single time out in tournament setting?
Right. And again, you don't really know, but what you hope is that we've learned that. We've learned how to do that. And there's not, you have to learn the game live as we're kind of talking. And so when you get out on a floor, so even though we're playing the same team in Florida Gulf Coast, they have a couple players that really played in that game last year, but they also have new players that haven't played us, and we have new players that haven't played them. And so you still have to adjust live as you go when you're not familiar with a team. And regardless of how you feel you should be doing, you still have to read that game live. So that's something that we've got to be able to figure out how they're going to guard inside. What are they going to do? How are they going to go at us on the offensive end? What are they going to do? And we have to be able to read that. So I think we have a lot of experience in being able to, and I'm talking, yes, our staff obviously, but I'm talking our players have a lot of experience in having to make in-game adjustments and to be able to read things that maybe, we didn't think that we would necessarily have to through a scout, because you don't know until you're really in it. So I think those are the lessons that you really hope that come out in March.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
You guys, thank you. Thanks for being here. Boomer.
All right. We will now open it up for questions for student athletes Raegan Beers and Payton Verhulst. Right here. Yes, please use the microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry. James Hale, KCU Sports Radio. Raegan and Payton, this is a unique team. Payton, you played them last year. Raegan, you haven't played them yet, but they're a 5-out team and they shoot a bunch of threes. Talk about the defensive matchup for both of you that you guys have in this game.
Raegan, you can go first, and then Payton.
FGCU, obviously, we've been scouting them. Phenomenal team, 18-0 in conference. That's very, very impressive. And so we're excited to go in. Obviously, this matchup, haven't seen anybody like them. Well, some similarities, but every team's different. So going in and kind of figuring out a 5-out offense is going to be a challenge. It's going to be fun, but we'll figure it out. We got one more day to scout, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I think she summed it up pretty good. Again, we played them last year. They're a different team, we're a different team, so I think just really excited to be able. We've been watching March Madness games in our locker room, so I think we're just excited to get on the court.
Yeah.
Both of you guys have.
Can you please state your name and affiliation?
Sorry, George Stoya, Soonerscoop.com. You guys have both gone on runs in the NCAA tournament, but at different schools, deep runs. Does that help you guys at all? Do you guys talk about that in the locker room? The run you went on at Oregon State or at Louisville and kind of the leadership that goes with that?
Obviously, that's experience that we will never forget. Obviously, Payton has gone really far with Louisville. Last year, had a phenomenal experience in the tournament. And so occasionally we do bring that up, how it's fun to host, fun to be in March Madness. But in the end, this is where we are. We're present with this team. We're present with this group because it's been a fun ride. And so we are just present right now, and we are ready to host and ready to get playing tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that really anything can happen in the tournament, and this is the best time of the year because again it's just one game. You're not playing people 2 or 3 times, so I just think we're really excited. And again, coming from teams where we know what it takes to get there, I think we know that we have what it takes too.
Yeah.
Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff Brunn, Associated Press. If both of you could touch on this. They talked about the 5-out offense, but I'm also noticing that they allow only 53 points a game. If you could speak to what you see that makes them effective and what kind of challenge that will present.
We'll start with Raegan and then Payton.
From what I've seen and what we've worked on this week especially, they're relentless. They're a relentless team. They're constantly coming after you. They're really, really scrappy, and they have to be able to be in this March Madness and make a run, which is not surprising. Every team is, but especially with them, they're just really scrappy. And that's, I feel like, how they get a lot of the points that they do, how they limit the way that they do. So it'll be a fun challenge for us to face tomorrow, to kind of hopefully score more than that, which would be the goal. But it's going to be a difficult task, and we're ready to get going.
Yeah, I think that especially our style of play is probably what a lot of people look at when they're scouting us, is that we like to get up and down. So I just think this will be a fun matchup, seeing as that they are a really good defensive team, and I think that we're a really good offensive team. So I just am excited.
James Jackson, Sooners Illustrated. Since the end of the SEC tournament and getting to this point, what's kind of gone into the preparation for you all? You know, not just looking at the FC, but just like the entire preparation for this moment.
Payton, you can lead off this time.
Yeah, this was kind of a unique year because we got that off period from SEC tournament to NCAA. So I think for us was just really, resting our bodies, getting recovery in, but also kind of pushing this last week and a half. Because again, this is the time of year where anything can happen, and I feel like the closer you are as a team is kind of like the further you make it in the tournament. So I think that was a big part that we were focusing on this past week and a half, and again, a unique situation that we got that. So we're excited.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, this is obviously a cool moment, March Madness. The opportunity to host is super, super fun. And as much as we would have loved to play, we had a lot of extra time to focus on ourselves, which looking back, we were really thankful for, because obviously after the SEC tournament, losing to South Carolina, again, we had a lot to learn from that game and from that loss as well as the other games. And so to have that extra week to kind of focus on us and things that we can improve on going into March Madness and going against FGCU tomorrow was a super fun week for us to rest and really push and get ready and focus on us.
George Stoya, Center Scoop again. There's been a lot made about hosting this regional, and Jennie's talked a lot over the last few years about building this program up. Just what's your message to fans about coming out and how important it is to be at these games, Saturday and possibly, obviously, Monday too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from our experience last year, honestly, we saw how big and how much it impacted Indiana being able to play at home. And I think that kind of maybe gave them that push that they needed to get past that second round. And so, again, we're really excited. We took care of business during non-con and during conference this year to put us in a position where we could host. So I think we're really excited. And now I know that we can rely on our fans to be able to show up tomorrow. And I know that Jennie and our staff and everyone has done everything they can to try and get as many people here as possible. So, again, I do think it's a big deal, and I think it is something that matters when it comes to getting past that second round.
Yeah. Kind of go off of that, our coaching staff, our supporting staff, kind of echoing that, have done a phenomenal job of promoting this. It's not every day you get to host March Madness, and it's really, really a cool and unique opportunity that we have. So our staff has just done a phenomenal job of getting that out there and getting as many people out here as possible, because as Payton said, it's truly an advantage. We felt it when we were at South Carolina in the SEC tournament. It felt like a home game in that third game for them. So to have that environment that you get to go and play in is super, super fun. And not only that, Payton said it, we worked really hard to put us in good positions to be able to host. And so we're just excited to put on another show for you tomorrow. Oh, this is why we do it. This is why we play. We want you guys to come. We want you to have fun. And so be there Saturday.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.